Welcome everybody to BES Lein and Learn for Parshat Chayei Sara with our special guest Paul Finn. Welcome, Paul.
Hi.
So we'll begin with Rishon. Sarah died at the age of 127, and her grieving husband Avraham identified a plot in the city of Hebron that he wished to buy for use as a family burial ground. This plot, a cave situated in the Machpelah field, belongs to Ephron the Hittite. So Avraham approached the Hittite tribe and asked for permission to purchase the parcel of land. Originally, Ephron wished to give the plot to Avraham as a gift, but after Avraham insisted on paying full price, the acquisition was concluded with Avraham paying 400 silver shekels. I'll just share a brief idea before we continue. The verse in chapter 23, verse 2 says that Avraham eulogized and then wept over Sara. And the Kli Yakar explains that normally one weeps and then eulogizes, but with Sarah's passing, the verse mentions it the other way around. Why? The answer is because the feeling of loss, which normally weakens with time, actually grew stronger after Sarah's passing. Therefore, the weeping continued long after the eulogizing, which is why the verse says that Avram eulogized and then wept over her passing.
Chayei Sara 100 shana ו20 shana ו7 shanim shnei Chayei Sara. Batamas Sara b'Kiryas Arba hi Hebron be'Eretz Canaan. Vayavo Avraham nisbod Sara v'livkosa. Vayakom Avraham me'al pnei meso. Vayedaber el bnei ches leimar. Gev asoshav anachi imachem tenu bi achaskeve imachem vekbarok mesi milfonoi vayanu b'nei ches es Avraham leimala shmaenu Adoni nesi Elohim atok b'sochenu b'mivchak varenu kavar es meisecha ish mimenu es kivra lo yichle mimcha mikva meisecha. Vayakom Avraham vayishtachu lam haaretz libnei ches vayadaber el sam leimar im yesh es nafshechem ligvar es meisi milfonoi shmaoni ufiguli befrom ben soha v'yitain li es moras hamachpelah asher lo asher biksei sodehu v'kesef malei yitnena li v'sochachem lachuzas kaveh befrom yoshe besuch b'nei ches. Vayan Ephron hachiti es Avraham b'oznei b'nei ches l'chol ba'eshai iro leimab lo Adoni shma'eni hasadeh nosati loch v'amara shebo l'chot nosati ha Lein b'nei ami nosati ha loch kava meisecha v'yishtachu Avraham lifnei am ha'aretz v'yadaber Yal Ephron b'oznei am ha'aretz leimar imata lushma eini nasati kesef hasadeh kach mimeni vekbara es mesi shama. Vayan Ephron es Avraham leimala Adoni shma'eni eretz Abba me'az shekel kesef beini u'beinecha mahi v'esmeischa kava vayishma Avraham el Ephron vayishkol Avraham le'Ephron es hakesef asher diber b'oznei b'nei ches Abba me'os shekel kesef over lasocher.
On now to Shani, the second Aliyah. Having acquired the lands, Avraham buried Sarah in the cave of Machpelah. At this point, Avraham summoned his servant and charged him with the mission of finding a suitable wife for his son Isaac. Abraham had his servant swear that he would not take a wife for Isaac from the local Canaanite tribe. Instead, he asked him to travel to Aram, his native land, and find a wife for Isaac there. The verse, chapter 24, verse 1 says that Hashem blessed Avraham b'kol, with everything. What does this mean? The Gemara Bava Basra says that some rabbis understand this pasuk to mean that Avraham had a daughter whose name was Bakol. But why is it important for us to know the name of Avram's daughter? The answer is that it's not the name of the daughter which the verse is telling us about, but the type of daughter that he had. Hashem blessed Abraham with a daughter who excelled in Bakol, in everything. Her intelligence, her kindness, and her beauty were all unsurpassed.
Vayokom Sedra Ephron, Asher b'machpelah, Asher lifnei Mamre, Hasodeh b'amara, Asher bo v'chol ha'etz, Asher b'sadeh, Asher b'chol gvula saviv, Lavraham lemikna le'nei b'nei ches, b'chol ba'esh ha'iro, v'acharei chen, kovar Avraham, Sara ishto el moras, Sedra hamachpelah al panei mamre hi chevron be'eretz Canaan vayokom hasadeh lahamara sheba l'Abraham nachuzas kaveh me'es b'nei ches va'Avraham zaken ba bayomim Vadonoi Beirach es Avraham Bakol Vayomer Avraham Elabdo Zakan Bezo Hamoshel B'chol Asher Lo Simno Yodcha Tachas Yirechi Vashbiacha Badonoi Elahei Hashamayim Belahei Haaretz Asher Lo Sikach Isha Livni Mibnos Haknani Asher Nachi Yoshe Bekirbo Ki Elapsi Vel Moladati Telech Rolokachta Isha Livni Liyitzchak Vayomer Elov Ha'eved Ulai Lo Sover Ha'isha Lo Leches Acharai El Ha'aretz Hazaz Hehoshe Voshiv Espincha El Ha'aretz Asher Yitzasa Misham Vayomer Elov Avraham Isham Melecha Pentoshiv Espini Shama Adonai Elahei Hashamayim Asher Lekochani Mi Beisavi Umeretz Meladati Vasher Shedibeli Vasher Nishmali Lema Lazaracha Etenes Oretz Hazaz Yishlach Malacha Lefonecha Velokachta Isha Libni Misham Bim Lo Sober Isha Leches Acharecha V'niki Isa Mishvasi Zos Rak Espeni Lo Soshev Shama Vayosem Ha'eved Es Yodo Tachas Yerech Avraham Avdonov Vayishava Lo Al Hadava Hazeh.
On after Shlishi, the servant set out for Aram and found himself beside the city well. He prayed for success in his mission and asked for a heavenly sign to confirm his choice of a girl for Isaac. He would ask a maiden for a drink of water, and the one who would answer, "Certainly, I'll also give your camels a drink as well," would be the proper choice for Isaac. Immediately, a young lady approached, and in response to the servant's request for a drink, she offered to give his camels to drink as well. Upon questioning her, he discovered that she was Avram's great niece, Rivka. I'll share a brief idea. The Kedushas Levi explains that Rivka drew the water and poured it into a trough. Why? Why was this necessary for us to? Why is it necessary for us to know this? And the answer is because if she would have fed the animals one by one, she would have found it difficult to choose which animal to feed first because they were all thirsty. Therefore, she poured the water into a trough so that they could all drink at the same time. This is one way in which the Torah shows Rivka's compassion and why she was chosen to be a matriarch of our people.
Vayikach ha'eved asara gemalim migemalei Adonov vayelech v'chol tuv Adonov biyado vayakom vayelech el aram naharaim el inacha vayavreich hagmalim michutz la'ir el be'er hamoyim le'eis erev le'eis seis hashavos vayomar Adonai Elohei Adoni Avraham Hakrei not lefonai hayom said im Adoni Avraham Hinei Anochi Nitzav al Ein Hamoyim Uvenos Anshe Ha'e Yotzos Lishov Moyim V'haya Hanara Asher Omar Eleha Hatina Hadech Veshter V'amra Shesei V'gam Gemalecha Ashke Osa Hochachta Lavdacha Liyitzchak Uva Eda Ki Osisa Chesed Im Adoni Ahihu Terem Kilot Ladaber Veinei Rivka Yotzeis Asher Yulda Livasuel Ben Milka Eshes Nacha Achi Avraham V'hada Al Shechma V'hanara Tovas Maret Ma'od Basula V'ish Lo Yada'a V'tered Haina V'tamale Kada V'ta'al V'yorot Ha'eved Likrosa V'hayome Hagmi'ini Na Matmayim Mikadech Vata Mesha say Adoni Vata Mahe Vata Red Kada Al Yoda Vatashkehu Vata Chal Hashko so Vata Me Gamla Gamalecha Eshav At Imkilu Lishtos Vata Mahe Vata Kada El Hashokes V'taratzod el ha'be'elish ov v'tishav v'chol k'malov v'ish mishta'ela macharish lahadas ha'hitzliach Adonai darko imlo v'hi kasher kilu agmalim lishtos v'ikach ha'ish nezem zahav beka mishkalo Ushanei Tzimidim Al Yodeha Asara Zahav Mishkalam Vayome Basmiat Hagidina Li Hayesh Beisavich Makom Lalun Atome Elav Bas Besuel Anochi Milka Asher Yodalanacha Vatome Elav Gam Teben Gam Ispo Rab Imanu Gamakom Lolun Vaikot Haish Vaishtachu Ladonai.
On now to read the fourth aliyah. Rivka ran to tell her family about the man at the well. Eliezer told Rivka's family the purpose of his mission to the city and recounted the heavenly sign. Rivka's family agreed that the match was divinely ordained and consented to the proposed match. I'll share a brief idea before we continue. In chapter 24, verse 51, the verse says, Ka'asher diber Hashem, as Hashem had spoken. Now, nowhere in the chapter did Hashem speak explicitly. However, the Ramban explains, Nachmanides explains, that God, so to speak, speaks through his control of natural events. And the entire sequence of the narrative shows that he wanted Rivka to become Yitzchak's wife.
Ayom Baruch Adonai Elohei Adoni Avraham Asher Lo'azav Chaso V'amito Me'im Adoni Onochi B'derech Nochani Adonai Be'zachei Adoni V'atarot Hanara V'atagei Lebeis Ima Kadavarim Ha'ele Ulerivka Ach Ushmo Lavon Vayoros Lavan El Ha'ish Hachutza El Ha'ayin Vayehi Kiros Es Hanezem Ves Hatzmidim Al Yedei Achaso Uchashamo Es Divrei Rivka Achaso Lema Kodibe Elai Ha'ish Vayavo El Ha'ish Vinei omeid al hagmalim al ha'oyin v'hayomer bo baruch Adonai lomos amod bachutz v'anachi pinisi habayis umakom lagmalim v'yavo ha'ish habayisa v'yafata hagmalim v'yitain teven umispo lagmalim umayim lechotz raglov v'ragleho anashim asher ito v'yusom lefonav lechol v'yom lo ochal ad im dibati dvaroi v'yomer daber v'yomar eved Avraham anochi v'Adonai beirach et Adoni ma'od v'yigdal v'yitain lo so nuvakot v'chesed v'zahav v'avodim u'shvachos u'gmalim v'chamorim v'teiled Sara eishes Adoni ben ladoni acharei ziknasa v'yitin lo es kol asher lo v'yashbi'eni Adonai le'ma lo zikach isha livni mimnos hakanani asher anochi yoshev ba'artzo im lo el beis avi telech vel mishpachti v'lokachta isha livni v'ma el Adoni ulai lo selecho isha acharoi v'yomer eila loi Adonai ashes halachti lefonav yishlach malacho itoch v'tzliach darkecha v'lokachta isha livni mimishpachti mibeis avi Os tinaket me'alasi kisavo el mishpachti bim lo yitnu loch v'yisa noki me'alasi v'avo hayom el ha'oyin v'ma Adonai Elohei Adoni Avraham Im yesh chana matzliach darki asher anochi olech oleha hinei anochi nitzav al ein hamoyim v'hayah mahayotzeis lishov v'amarta eleha hashinina ma'mayim nikadech v'amra elai gamata shezei v'gam ligmalecha eshov hi ha'isha asher hohiach Adonai leven Adoni Ani terem achale ledaber el libi v'hinei Rivka yotzeis v'chada al shirma v'teret ha'ena v'tishov v'ma eleha hashkinina v'temaher v'teret kada me'aleha v'tomer shesei v'gam gemalecha ashker v'eish v'gam hagmalin ishkosa v'shalasa v'ma basmi at v'tomer Bas Besuel ben Nacha asher yodalo milka basim hanezem alapav hatzmidim al yodeha v'kod v'shtachavel Adonai v'avarech es Adonai Elohei Adoni Avraham asher hinchani b'derech emes lokachas es basachei Adoni Livno vata im yeshchem osim chesed v'emes es Adoni hagidu li v'im lo hagidu li v'efne al yomin o al smo v'ya'an lovon u'v'suel v'yomeru me Adonai yotza hadavar Lo nuchal daber elecha ra'otov hine rivka lefonecha kach v'olech usehi isha leven Adonecha kasher diber Adonai v'yehi kasher shoma eved Avraham es divreihem v'yishtachu atzal Adonai.
On after Chamishi, the fifth Aliyah, Rivka's family celebrates the engagement together with Eliezer. The next morning, Eliezer insisted on immediately returning to his master Avram with Rivka, and after Rivka agreed, the two set out for Canaan. Yitzchak marries Rivka, loved her, and finally found consolation for the loss of his mother. Rashi explains that for as long as Sarah was alive, a lamp burned in her tent. From one Shabbos to the next, her dough was blessed, and Hashem's divine presence hung like a cloud over her tent. When Sarah died, these blessings ceased, but when Rivka entered the tent, they resumed. This proved that Rivka was a worthy successor of Sarah, and this proved that Rivka deserved to become a matriarch of our people.
ויצא העבד כלי חסד וכלי זהב ובגדים. ויתן רבקה ומגדונוס נתן לאחיך ולאמה. ויאכלו וישתו ואנשים אשר עמו וילינו ויקומו בבוקר ויאמר שלחוני לאדוני ויאמר אחיך ואמה תשב הנערה איתנו ימים עשר אחת תלך ויאמר עליהם אל תאחרו אוסיף אדוני הצליח דרכי שלחוני ואכל אדוני ויאמרו נקרא לנערה ונשאלה את פיה ויקראו לרבקה ויאמרו אליה הסלחי עם האיש הזה ותאמר אלך וישלחו את רבקה אחוזם בסמי נקטה ואת עבד אברהם ואת אנשיו ויברכו את רבקה ויאמרו לה אחוזנו את חיי לאלפי רבבה בירש זרעך שסוניו ותקום רבקה ונרזיה ותרכבנה על הגמלים ותלכנה אחרי האיש. ויקח העבד את רבקה וילך ויצחק בא מבבל לחי והוא יושב בארץ הנגב. ויצא יצחק לסוח בשדה לפנוס ערב. וישא עיניו וירא והנה גמלים באים ותישא רבקה את עיניה ותרא את יצחק ותיפול מעל הגמל ותאמר אל האבן מי האיש הלזה הלך בשדה לקרוסנו ויאמר העבד הוא אדוני ותיקח הצעף ותסכס ויספר העבד ליצחק את כל הדברים אשר עשה ויביאהו יצחק אל שרה אמו ויקח את רבקה ותילו לאישה ויאהביה וינחם יצחק אחרי אמו.
Moving on to Shishi Aliyah number 6, Abraham remarried and fathered several more children. Before his death, however, Abraham gave gifts to his other children and sent them away and bequeathed all the rest of his possessions to Yitzchak. Abraham died at the age of 175 and was buried by Isaac and Ishmael in the cave of Machpelah next to his wife Sarah. I'll share a brief idea. Abraham married Keturah, and Rashi says that Keturah was Hagar and that her deeds were as pleasant as Ketoret, incense, on the altar in the temple. But how could Hagar be described in this way? After she left Abraham, she returned to idol worship. And so the Chizkuni explains that she must have done the Shuvah before she married Abraham, and therefore the Torah calls her Keturah, which sounds like Ketoret due to the sweet aroma of her teshuvah.
ויוסף אברהם ויקח אישה ושמה קטורה ותלד לו את זמרון ואת יוקשן ואת מדון ואת מדיון ואת ישבק ואת שוח ויוקשן ילד את שבה ואת דדון ובני דדון היו אשורים ולתושים ולאומים ובני מדיין איפה ואיפה בחנוך ובידה ואלדה כל אלה בני קטורה. ויצעד אברהם את כל אשר לו ליצחק ולבני הפלגשים אשר לאברהם Nosan Abraham Matanos Vayeshalchem Me'al Yitzchak Beno Bodenu Chai Kedma El Eretz Kedem Ve'ele Yemei Shnei Chayei Avraham Asher Choy Me'as Shana B'shivim Shana V'chamesh Shanim Vayigva Vayamas Avraham B'seifato V'azokim V'saveya Be'yosef Elamav Vayikbaru Oso Yitzchak V'Yishmael Banav El Maras Hamachpela El Sedei Ephraim Ben So Hachiti Asher Alpanei Mamre Hasadeh Asher Kona Avraham Meyes B'nei Ches Shama Kuba Avraham Sara Ishto Vayi Acharei Most Avraham Vayavarech Elohim Es Yitzchak Beno Vayeshev Yitzchak Im Belachai.
On now to Shavi, Aliyah number 7, the final Aliyah. Yishmael's progeny are detailed in this section, and Yishmael passes away, we are told, at the age of 137. The Netziv explains that Yishmael is referred to here as Avram's son because Avram regarded him as his son in every sense, no matter what he did in life. So too, we are always the children of Hashem in his eyes, no matter what we have done. This is a cause of great comfort and pride.
Ve'ele Toldos Yishmael ben Avraham Asher Yilda Hagar Hamitzris Shivchas Sara LaAvraham Ve'ele Shemos B'nei Yishmael Bishmosam LaSoldosam B'cha Yishmael Nevayos V'keda Bad Be'el Umivsam Umishma V'duma Umasa Hada v'seima yitzit nafish v'keima Elehem b'nei Yishmael v'ele shmosam b'chatzreihem u'v'tirosam Shnei Masa Nesiim Lumasam Ve'ele Shnei Chayei Yishmael Ma'as Shana Ushloshim Shana B'Sheva Shanim Vayigva Vayamos Vayosef Elamav Vayishkenu Mechavila Acho Asher Alpanei Mitzrayim Bacha Ashura Alpanei Kol Echov Nafal.
So there you have it, the laning, the overview, and some insights into the Sedra. Thank you so much, Paul, for your great laning. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
And thank you to everyone for joining us at home. Shabbat Shalom.